maybe 10 minutes into the meeting, they'll be called.
Sounds good.
No, we're just gonna refer it out to the city council meeting. So that's fine, Counselor. So the motion is to refer it out to the city council meeting. Do I have,
Second.
Do you want a couple minutes to talk about it? Would you prefer to just do it at the?
no, he said to move it
No,
over.
I think it's most appropriate that we just hold it over, seeing that it's only a few minutes before our regular
Okay.
meeting, that we hold it over and just to have it as one piece on the
Okay.
calendar. But understanding that it may go a little lengthy tonight in the regular city council meeting because of this item.
Then,
That's okay.
yeah,
We only have 16 pieces, Counselor, so the public hearing should go quick, and hopefully, it doesn't matter, I just feel bad if they're waiting this long.
so the
that's all.
motion I would make is excuse customary thanks
Excuse with the customary thanks.
and refer this matter out to the general meeting at 7 o'clock.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So, we're gonna refer this item out to the general meeting at 7 o'clock. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion to
Move
adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We have adjourned.
How you have yours for the audience? Leo, is this my name?
What's going on?
I missed you Saturday. We figured you were out of state again.
I was.
Where are you? Seriously?
Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I had to go. I just got out of Florida. And all the shit was piling up.
I feel bad for my brother. My brother's.
Are they all banged up?
I'm ready. Montego Bay for his birthday.
Oh.
They, of course, they told all the family to go home because of hurricane.
Get out.
We got home with Betty to Georgia. Just in
They're telling him to get
walk
out.
up his house and back.
Get out. Yeah, yeah.
This He works.
I want time and a half.
The Air Force Station.
Is it Saturday next year?
He works on
The regular meeting of the City Council will now come to order. Please be seated, councilors, and please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Offense Street. You don't have him coming.
Council Capone.
Here?
Council Della Sola.
Here.
Council DeFlorio. Councilor Hanlon.
Here.
Councilor Matusky. Councilor McKinnon.
Here.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
Councilor Napolitano. Here. Councilor Sani.
Here.
Councilor DeFlorio. Here. And President DePiero.
Here.
10 members present. You do have a quorum.
We did already salute the flag prior to the committee meeting, but Councilor Napolitano, the floor is yours.
And after we rise on, for a moment of silence, today is the 16th anniversary of the attack of 9/11. Most of us were not able to attend this morning's ceremonies. I think it's appropriate that we pay honor tonight.
Thank you. Before we begin, Councilor Simonelli sends his regards. He cannot make it tonight, but he is feeling better.
Order me to read. Order me to read the first item.
First item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, the first item is an order offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president to all parties interested in the National Grid petition plan for Tappan Street to install one 3-inch PVC conduit from pole number 1458 for service to a new playground.
Mr. Chairman, invite the petitioner up.
Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioner up. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, good evening, John Jankowski, 170 Bedford Street in Waltham, Mass. I'm representing National Grid on a petition that you have in front of you. The petition that you have in front of you is to provide service to a new playground. That comes from the existing pole. Pole lies on the same side of the park. So the customer, which would be the city, obviously, will install conduit and cable on the same side of the pole, of the pole line. Customer will dig up the part of the sidewalk. The road will not be disturbed, just the sidewalk itself. And if you have any questions or concern, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, councilors?
Who's the customer? Us, City of Everett, right?
Yes.
Yeah. City of Everett is the customer? The City of Everett is the customer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I believe it's a park there, Kinsman at Tappan Street.
Move to be excused, the customary thanks.
Motion made and seconded to excuse the petitioner with a customary thanks.
Make
All those in
motion we open
favor?
the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is passed. Motion was made to open the public hearing and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The public hearing is now open. I'm going to ask the audience 3 times if anyone in the audience is in favor of it, and I'm also going to ask 3 times if anyone is opposed. Is anyone in the audience in favor of this petition? Anybody in favor? Anybody in favor? That portion is closed. I'm going to ask 3 times if anyone is opposed. Is anyone in the audience opposed to the petition? Is anybody opposed to the petition? Is anyone opposed to the petition? That portion is concluded.
Mr. Chairman, second motion.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Matter is before you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Della Sola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes.
Council Matusky. Yes. Council McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Councilor Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
The petition has passed. Item number 2, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 2, Mr. President, is an order offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president to all parties interested in the petition from National Grid for the installation of conduit, manholes, underground wires, and miscellaneous underground electrical equipment along Santilli Highway, Revere Beach Parkway, and Mystic View Road.
Invite the petitioner.
Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioner forward. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Tim Williamson, representing National Grid at 170 Medford Street in Malden, Mass. This petition is to install manholes and conduits crossing Santilli Circle from Santilli Highway to Mystic View Road. The general plan for this is to get some needed infrastructure for future improvements in the area, to get them installed before all of the roadway improvements and repaving that's coming up in the near future. We've been coordinating with the wind development to try to get our work scheduled before their work is done. That way, once the area is repaved, we're not coming back in a year to dig it up again and cause some issues. So I'd like to see if you guys have any questions or concerns that need to be addressed.
Councilor Della Sola?
Good evening. How long is this project going to take between the manholes and conduit and all that stuff?
They should be able to do all of this in a week, pending traffic planning with the local and state police, because they'd only want to do one lane of work at a time. That way, we would have as minimal impact to the traffic as possible.
Is there a traffic plan already made up?
There is. We've also submitted a permit to the DCR that includes the highway traffic plan layouts, and then once we get that, we coordinate with the state and local police to actually come up with a day-to-day plan. And then, we assume there'll be some, maybe some night hour restrictions for the work that's really out in the heavy traffic lanes.
Okay, is that right where the Rotary meets?
Yeah, it's right
Side street there?
right near the Gateway Plaza, and on the other side would be BNY Mellon, right
Yes.
at the corner where Best Buy is also.
All right.
So we'd be going from the Santilli Highway side across Revere Beach Parkway and then ending on Mystic View Road into the Gateway Mall side.
Through the island?
Through the island, yep. And then that way, when we need to do some future improvements to the area, we'll already have the main infrastructure crossing the highway, and then, we'll be just down to local impacts at that point. And then, like I said, we'll, get it in before everything's repaved and, the lanes are reconfigured, so that way we don't have to impact the area twice.
And you use state police out there, or would you use?
I believe it would be state police on Route 16 itself, and then we could use local police on the areas on Santilli Highway and Mystic View Road.
All right, one more question. Do you know when it's going to start? Is this only because we have the Village Fest on the 23rd going down there?
Okay, it wouldn't be that soon. We still have to work out the permitting with the DCR, but so we can say it'll be after the street festival.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. President. As we all know, the traffic down that area is very, very bad during the day, especially morning time is extremely. I'd like to see as much of this work as possible being done at nighttime for the least amount of impact on the city. As much of it, if not all of it, can be done at night, I believe.
Definitely the stuff in the roadway. I would think the stuff up in the grassy areas would be fine to do during the day as long as there was no impact to traffic.
Okay, I'll yield the floor to some of my colleagues if they want to comment on that, but I would like to see as much of it as possible done at nighttime.
I'll note that.
So if we can put that into a formal motion at the end for nighttime work, but if my colleagues want to comment on any other restriction on traffic, but it is pretty bad down there, as we all know. Thank you.
Councilor McKinnon?
Through you, Mr. President, I have a couple of questions. One, I'd like to address it to our city clerk. Mr. Clerk, we also have an ordinance that requires baiting on anything that's being dug up. Are they required to do that as well?
It's a great question.
Sorry,
I believe
what was the
that's
question?
more for work.
Rodent baiting, do you do that?
A baiting?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the term.
Rodent baiting? Prior to
rat
bidding?
traps?
Yeah.
I could check with the contractors. I'm not familiar with that ordinance, but I'm sure it's something we could work into the plan.
I'd have to double check the ordinance, but I believe it would affect them, but I know the intention of it was mainly for streets going on in our city and road work and
But see,
parks and playgrounds and
Yeah.
things like that, because that was where
what
the
I
issue
did
was
is,
happening.
I
If you
wrote
remember.
it, so With that, what we did was, we said any type of earth movement, I believe, because it came out of North Carolina. and
Correct,
that's
I
what
believe
used.
we copied from, we worked off another
Yep.
ordinance from another city
You were
and
part of
state.
it, so
Yep,
that's
yep,
why I
yep.
asked.
I just don't
So
remember
if we
the
can
full
get that
language.
incorporated with any type of digging that's going on in the city, I think they should be notified about that as well before they
So-
start digging.
So part of the new process, I'll make sure that it's incorporated in any license.
Thank you very much.
welcome.
Excuse me, are you familiar, is that part of the notice of excavation process then, that the actual contractors that are doing the digging would file? Do you- are you-
That's why I asked the
Okay,
question, so
I
we're
can
gonna have to
work with
check
Dan
into it.
Cameron, and we can reach out to the city and kind of make sure that we include that with the plan for the.
Actually, you can get back to the city clerk's office. He'll handle that, and he'll get back to us with it.
Sounds good, thank you.
And as well, now, it is a tight situation down there with traffic, so we request that it be done mostly at night.
I'll just stipulate that, and then that takes the.
And that's
que-
for,
that
like-
takes the question out of it.
Yeah, that's a public safety issue. And how many, you said you were gonna have how many details down there?
On the sections in the roadway,
Yes.
we probably need 2 to 3, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Counselor Hanlon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, item number 2 of this project, it says Santilli Highway, Revere Beach Parkway, and Mystic View Road. Which direction is it going to? Is it going from Santilli to Mystic View or Mystic View to?
Well, it starts on Santilli Highway, and then it comes across through the circle, and then it gets onto Mystic View Road and then ends there. And that's pretty much the limits of the work that Wynn is doing to reconfigure and repave this traffic circle.
Okay, so Santilli has the electricity, and you're shipping that over to Mystic View Road, is that it?
Yeah, we're bridging the gap between the two sides of the circle.
Okay,
So in the future, we'll be able to make those
All
connections.
right. And item number 3 and 4, I want to discuss them, but are these 3 all related?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions, counselors?
Stay right there.
Motion made and seconded to excuse our guests for the customary thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Motion was also made and seconded to hold the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. I'm going to ask the audience 3 times if anyone's in favor of this petition, and I'm going to do the same if anyone's opposed. Is anyone in the audience in favor of this petition? Anybody in favor? Anybody in favor? That part is concluded. Anyone in the audience opposed to this petition? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed?
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is now before you.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor De La Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Sani.
Yes.
President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
The order has passed. Item number 3.
Item number 3, Mr. President, is an order offered by Counselor Anthony DePiero as president to all parties interested in the petition from National Grid Plan A to install conduit, manholes, underground wires, and miscellaneous underground electrical equipment along Broadway, Bow Street, Mystic Street, and Line Street.
We have the same petitioner before us. Are there any questions, counselors, for him? Is it seconded?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioner before us. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Counselor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our guest. Roughly how long do you think the project would take on this one? This is item number 3.
This one would probably take about 4 days of work.
4 days?
Yep.
And you heard the sentiments of council, traffic is a bear?
Yeah,
So
this
anything that
one-
can be done at evening is what we want to do?
Yep, I would think the same stipulations for the night work, the baiting. And, you know, again, the same concept here is we want to get this work done before the roadway improvements are done. So,
Thank you. No other questions?
thank you.
Motion made and seconded to excuse our guest. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion made and seconded to open the public hearing. All those in favor? Opposed, the ayes have it. Same process here. I'm going to ask 3 times in favor and 3 times opposed. Anyone in the audience in favor of this petition? Anyone in favor? Anyone in favor? That portion is closed. Is there anyone in the audience opposed to this petition? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is now before you. Motion made and seconded for favorable action. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio. Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin. Yes. Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Petition has been granted. Item number 4 is next.
Item number 4 is an order offered by Counselor Anthony DePiero as president to all parties interested in the petition from National Grid for Plan B for installation of poles, anchors, overhead wires, and miscellaneous and overhead electrical equipment on Mystic Street and Line Street.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to invite the petitioner.
Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioner before us. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Counselor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our invited guest. Same stipulations. What kind of time frame are you looking at here?
This would just be 1, maybe 2 days.
Okay. And again,
This is just kind of a technicality. This relates to the previous petition.
right.
When I filed it with the National Grid clerk, they said I needed to keep the underground
One thing and then
one
the
thing and
overhead
poles
second.
separate. So
Okay.
this is just the 2 riser poles where those conduits would come up on
Okay.
Mystic and Lynn
All right.
Street.
We've covered all the other issues. The sentiments remain the same, overnight work,
Keep
all
the
that
same
good stuff.
stipulations on this.
Beautiful. Thank you. No other
Thank you.
questions?
Counselor Hanlon has a question.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I think you said, did you say 2 poles?
2 poles, one on Mystic and one on Lynn Street.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All set, councilors? Motion made and seconded to excuse our guest with a customary thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Same process, 3 times in favor and 3 times opposed. Anyone in the audience in favor of this petition? Is anyone in the audience in favor of this petition? Anyone in favor? That portion is closed. Anyone in the audience opposed to this petition? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed?
Close the public hearing.
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. The matter is now before you. All those in
Second
favor?
motion.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The matter is before you.
Favorable action.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Petition has been granted.
Thank you,
Chairman,
councilors. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Chairman, make a motion to suspend our rules and take item number 13, I believe it is.
We have to open the public,
We have to take
Oh,
public
public
participation, then you can
participation
suspend the rules, councilors.
Correct.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to open public participation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, I have one speaker, Marlon Diaz from 52 May Street in Everett.
Please come forward. There is only a 10-minute time allotted for public participation, so if there are anyone else that would like to participate, please be mindful to them, and we are not allowed to engage. We can just listen. Please introduce yourself first. I'm sorry.
My name is Marlon Diaz. I live on 52 May Street in Everett, Mass. I'm adjacent to Nino's Ironworks. We had the discussion today about. Fourth and foremost, I have been complaining about the place. I do have odors in my house coming in through and throughout the days, nights. I also have tenants downstairs. This is my first house that I bought in the area of the village. I looked around, kids running around the streets, excellent, And now I wanted to start a family around here, knowing that this is an up-and-coming neighborhood. Brand new park to the left. I got an elementary school to my right, and I got businesses that are opening up with detailed, everything working in order, no trash, I couldn't complain about the other businesses like Teddy's, the distillery, the night brewery shift. I thought that I was going to be seeing massive amount of traffic flowing from people drinking everywhere, but no. It's been a very, 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 very good area around the area, and, it's up and coming. And so I know that place has been that building's been built since 1900s. And I know back in the day, we don't have as much knowledge as we do as with the chemicals that we have, everything that we smell, and especially since there wasn't any kids in the village back then. I mean, you probably all know that that was a very industrialized area. But now we have a lot of residents there that want to settle down. They want to raise their kids. And in a place like that, you know, it's for me to even make noise, because I know that everybody in that place needs business. My parents came from Columbia knowing that they needed a job, and I talked to those people. I talked to them driving the trucks and everything. I know that they all need jobs, but it's to the point where it's getting out of hand. I've tried to communicate with them on a neighborly basis, and it got out of hand at one point, and I had to take another approach, and now I'm taking it professional. And I've been working at a Mercedes-Benz dealership for 14 years. I know the laws, regulations, you know, it's pay to play. With everything that we have in order, I think it could be tightened up a little bit more because of the fact that I am the adjacent neighbor that smells everything. And I've talked to the other neighbors too. And basically, I'm the representative of everybody here. There was at one point I was probably going to take a petition, but the legal standards and I don't get along as much. So I'm just here to say that, you know, Nino's Iron Works could use some help. You know, there's places around the area that, again, show that they do what they're supposed to be doing, and it's going to be very hard for me to raise my daughter and also have tenants that respect me as a landlord that can't have their windows open on a nice, beautiful day, like today or any other day. And I have also other stuff that I'm going to present to the ISD people because, again, I am their neighbor. I'm well aware of what's going on every day. And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for coming forward, and in the future, at the next community development meetings that do take place about the business, I ask that you come as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Anyone else in the audience?
There's nobody else on the sign-in sheet, Mr. Chairman, but we do have people that have been waiting here for quite some time.
We have to close the
make a
period
motion to
first.
close public.
Motion made and seconded to close public participation. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilor DeFlorio?
I suspend the rule and take item number 13.
Is there a
Move to
second?
suspend the rules, take items 10 and 11.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules and take item 10 and 11, Councilor?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Them collectively, we do have to vote on them separately, just so you know. Okay. Item number 10 is an order offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president, a petition from Mobility LLC to attach backhaul transport equipment to an existing utility pole in the right-of-way located on Everett Ave. And
Take
item
action.
number...
Oh, you're doing two? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
it's okay. And item number 11 is an order offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president, a petition from TC Systems, Inc. for proposed conduit placement at Chelsea Street and Vine Street.
Favorable action, number
on
10.
the order.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action on item 10.
10.
Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk. Yes. Do you have a question? Councilor McKinnon?
On item number 10, did anyone receive any type of medical data from this?
I am
'Cause I have
unaware
not.
of such.
It was requested, I know, a number of times on this, so, and I know that I haven't received any, but I wanted to know if anyone else had, so.
No.
Was there
I do
anything?
not have medical data. I do have, I'm trying to find the piece. I think it's still in the back with the clerk of committees while he's finishing it. There was information given to us by our city solicitor.
Do you have that? Can you read that?
I'm trying to find it. I believe it's, thank you very much.
Thanks.
The
Sorry.
piece is in the
Sorry.
back. They're still working on it, so. If you'll indulge me.
Thanks.
This is from our city solicitor, Colleen Mejia. She said she did some research on the mobility petition, and the revised its plan to install on already existing poles, as we asked, rather than apply to the city to construct new standalone poles in accordance with MGL Chapter 166, Section 22. While MGL Chapter 166 gives a council wide discretion to deny permission to construct new poles, MGL 166, chapter subsection 25A allows for wireless providers to place equipment on already existing poles, so long as there is room on the pole and there are no significant health or safety issues. Where Mobility has revised their petition, there is no public hearing required under the statute to place the equipment on the existing pole. She says she's unable to make the meeting. If the council has any other questions, please refer to her. Otherwise, short of a health or safety concern, the city council should permit the installation of equipment on the existing poles.
Okay, but when we request medical data or anything like that, it should be
I'm
given,
gonna,
correct?
just briefly, very similar poles exist. They exist in residential neighborhoods. One is about 7 homes from my house. It is a very similar system. They have the little box on the top, and they currently operate here in the city of Everett.
Reason why I ask is there was testimony given by individuals at one of the meetings. There's been 3 or 4 on this particular company now, and requesting different type of data from that. But it was in a residential area where they were trying to put it in, and they did not want it there.
Correct.
There was a number of residents that did not want it there.
And I remember that, and that's why the city council, along with its committee, decided that they requested to the petitioner, Ms. Ferranti, that she look elsewhere than a residential neighborhood in a commercial district, is what she did.
In the commercial district, now, how many more other petitions for this type of activity are going to come down?
Currently, she has one before us. We can only
Only
vote
this
on the one
petition,
that's
councilors,
currently
please.
there. We can't project what she is going to provide later, and I believe she will provide others later.
Hopefully they're
But
not gonna be
currently,
in
this is in a commercial district, which is what the city council requested. From any information that the petitioner gave us, that it is very minimal to health effects. You'd have to stay under it for hours on every day. Where it's in a commercial area, not in front of a home, I don't see us having that issue. It's right off the Parkway.
On this one?
Blocks from my home, currently.
Okay.
We can only vote on what's currently in front of us. We can't work and say, well, in the future, they may give us something else. You have to vote on what's here
Sure.
tonight. What's in front of us tonight is what the city council requested, asked of her, and she's been up here 3 or 4 times. She's had meetings with me in the office, and I think she's called some of the councilors, so it is up to you, but she's tried, and I know she's been before this council a few times in the past, so we have to only vote on what is before us currently.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Della Sola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Council Hanlon.
Yes.
Council McKinnon.
No.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Council Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
We have 9 yeas, 8 yeas, 1 nay.
The petition has been granted. Item number 11 is now before you. Motion made and seconded for favorable action on item 11. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Yes. Council Capone.
Yes.
Council Della Sola.
Yes.
Council DeFlorio.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon. Yes. Councilor McKinnon.
Yes.
Council McLaughlin.
Yes.
Council Napolitano.
Yes.
Councilor Sani.
Yes.
Councilor Matusky.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
You have 10 yeas, 0 nays, Mr. President.
Petition has been granted.
Mr. Chair, move suspension of the rules, take item number 13.
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules and take item 13. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 13, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 13 is a resolution offered by Councilor McLaughlin and the entire City Council to discuss the recently approved plans by the Planning Board to build a school at 7-9 Plymouth Street.
Mr. Chairman, this was in committee, but unfortunately we ran out of time, and there were people here that have sat patiently waiting to speak. So whichever way you and the sponsor would like to handle it, that's basically,
Okay.
this is basically what happened in committee. I'm just letting you know.
Okay,
Thank
I'm going to
you.
let Councilor Capone
Mr.
speak.
Chairman,
Thank you, Mr. President. What I would recommend is that we have the petitioners forward let them give an overview of what the proposal is, and at that point, then we could have the sponsor raise whatever concerns, issues they might have.
Conduct it like a public hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that a motion, Counselor?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I would say for you to do it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioners forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Please step forward, folks.
You're the petitioner.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Clerk, members of the council. My name is David O'Neill. I'm an attorney in Everett with offices at 391 Broadway. I represent Pioneer Charter School of Science, not accurately described as a petitioner this evening. We were simply invited to the committee to discuss the recently approved plan, and again, not to build a school, but to renovate an existing building at 7-9 Plymouth Street, the former Teleflex manufacturing facility, and to refit that building as a K-8 school for the continuation of the Pioneer Charter School of Science educational enterprise, which has been operating in the city of Everett for about 10 years at the location of the former Immaculate Conception School on Summer Street. And just to clarify another misconception that has circulated in the press, that facility is not being closed. It will simply house the high school portion, the 9th through 12th grade, and the Pioneer Charter School is excited to have a K-8 home at the facility that they are under a lease for at Plymouth Street. Councilor McLaughlin invited us up, and we're pleased to come up and discuss the plans and the relief that was granted at the planning board a few weeks back to exempt or to recognize the exemption that this project has as an educational use within the city and not require a site plan review, as under the statutory provisions of Chapter 48, Section 3, so-called Dover Amendment, the city's zoning regulations don't apply to a school or a religious institution or a child care facility, but in our case, a school. But for a certain enumerated list of matters, such as building height, lot coverage, parking, a few things that the zoning does apply to, however, none of which the project down at the Plymouth Street site bring into play, because nothing is being altered. The size of the building is not being altered. The layout of the parking is not being altered. The density or the lot coverage of the property is not being changed. So there's really nothing within the purview of the zoning bylaws of the city that would give them anything to review at a site plan review process. So they recognized that and issued the waiver. I had reached out to Councilor McLaughlin prior to that petition, that request for a waiver, knowing that he's the counselor in that area. We've had conversations. I've had conversations with several of you on the board, all of whom recognize the great work that the Pioneer Charter School has done in the city over their 10 plus or almost 10 years in the city. Approximately, I believe, over 1,000, well, I think it was close to 1,500 students have come through from Everett. They're going to continue their good work. They're expanding because they're successful. They're expanding because the product that they deliver has been recognized as an excellent resource for the students of the city. And with success comes expansion, and they're pleased to be able to offer that in the new facility that they're refitting down on Plymouth Street. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Just a little overview of the project. If you're familiar with the Teleflex building, it's been a manufacturing site for all of its time in the city, approximately 50 years of building medical devices. At its peak, it was employing over 130 employees full-time at that site. There were daily deliveries, daily transports, light manufacturing, but manufacturing nonetheless. That building has been rented by Pioneer Charter School of Science from the Cosentino family. They have a fairly long-term lease that will allow them to get the benefit of their significant investment in this facility to turn it into a very operational K-8 school, which in ramping up over the next several years will ultimately house approximately 540 students. And that'll be a gradual uprise or development of their school population. They're not immediately enrolling that, but it's expected, and given their track record, that they will ultimately have that full capacity at the school. Some of the concerns that the counselor had raised when we spoke of it, there have been and had been addressed at the planning board, and in fact prior to that, by the officials from the school, mainly knowing the density of the village area, knowing that that is the home of many people, knowing that bringing this number of students and transport trips could potentially pose an impact on that community. The school is very cognizant of that. They've developed a transportation plan, and with me is Hussein Kara, who's the operations director, and all the information I'm giving you, it's because he's given it to me already. He's thought through this. And again, I apologize, as we were presenting this as a committee matter and not really a council matter, we don't have a package for everyone to show you what our plans were, and we could have had graphics and show you what it is. But picture being worth 1,000 words, I'll try to use less than 1,000 words to describe the plan that they've put together, which is, at the peak population of the school with 540 students, and I believe approximately, as far as staff and teachers, 25 to?
They're expecting 50 staff members in the most maximum capacity.
With staff members, how many?
50.
50, okay. So approximately at full capacity, 500 plus students, 50 approximately staff members. How are we going to get these people in and out? How are we going to get them in and out without causing a hardship to the area? And the answer is that there will be no bus routes through the village. We're not going to envision coming down Cross Street or Plymouth Street or any street in the village with a bus. The bus routes will proceed around Santilli Circle, Route 16, come around the Rotary, enter back in Bizarro Lane, make a entry into the existing curb cut, as it were, into the Teleflex facility, fully load and unload on premises of the school. No use of the public ways, no queuing of buses. At peak capacity, and again, we're some time away from that, they envision that there will be 4, perhaps 5 bus trips carrying the students in. It has been their experience up at the Immaculate School that a great number of the students in the areas walk. While we're going to be targeting or attracting a younger school set here with the K-8, the one thing we know about them is none of them will be driving cars to school. Some of them will be dropped off, but a great number of them will live in the area, and Hussein has done some demographics of it to show exactly where the students are coming from. Highly walkable for a good number of the population that's going to be coming there. We don't anticipate any issues with the traffic flow. What can we predict? We've tried to predict and tried to work around and have a very detailed and specific plan on how to address that. On-site are close to 100 parking spots, so again, more than enough to accommodate the staff, more than enough to accommodate student drop-offs. Parking on-site will in no way pose a problem. There's not going to be parking in the neighborhood. There's simply not going to be the need for the parking in the area. As we go into the project, we're aware that things will come up. We will strive, as we always will and always have, and as the Pioneer Charter School has done in their 10-year, very positive history in the city, to be a good neighbor. I know that a number of the counselors have been to the school and have had positive experiences, and frankly, that's why it's a successful enterprise, and that's why it's expanding. It's a great thing for Everett, and they are happy to be expanding and making this investment in our children. So that's kind of my overview of it. If anyone has any questions, we can certainly respond, and if I don't, we can, if I don't have the information, we can have with us, in addition to Hussein, we've got Sonella Janis, who's the Executive Director of the Everett facility, and Badesh Eisen, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Pioneer Charter School of Science. So,
Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I was blown away to hear this proposal. We all know that neighborhood. We have all frequented that neighborhood many times. Mr. O'Neill talks about getting 4 to 5 buses a day into the school through Bizarro Lane. We all know that the Rotary in the morning, you cannot pass through. It's impassable. So now you're going to fight to get buses through the already over-congested area. When you come down to 16 at that point, now you're going to take a right into Bizarro Lane. If you've ever tried to take a right into Bizarro Lane in a vehicle and there's a car coming south on Bizarro Lane, you can't make that sharp right-hand turn into Bizarro Lane. There currently is parking on both sides of Bizarro Lane. The residents in the village on those side streets, May Street and Calvin Street and Montrose, they use that as parking along their fence and on the other side of the hill on the DCR side. So you have now parking on both sides. Where are those cars going to go? Because you can't leave them there. The street is already shrunk in width. If you remove those vehicles now have to go somewhere. There's not enough spots in the village today because that's why they're out there. So to remove those is going to be an additional issue and concern to the residents. Mr. O'Neill talks about most of the children walking to the school. To walk to that location is very difficult. You're not going to have kids walking on Route 16, obviously. You're going to have them coming through the streets of the village. The village is already over-congested as it is. Parents are going to be driving through the streets of the village to get to the school because they're not going to try to cut across the Rotary. There are so many underlying issues that I respect the Pioneer Charter School. I respect what they're trying to do. I understand that they're growing. He talks about 540 students at peak. We've seen the Everett Public Schools, the numbers increase, the numbers go bigger than they anticipate. There's no way to be able to stop that. If it's 540 is what they're peaking, you can be assured that they're going to go over that number over a certain amount of years. That's going to add additional faculty, additional students to the schools. There's many underlying issues here that we need to think about, that we need to try to protect the village from. The village is probably the most densely commuted area in the city of Everett. If you could point out another one, I respectfully agree. Homes are on top of each other down there as it is today. You're going to add 540 students over, I would say, a very short amount of time. I know there's around 300 or so today enrolled in that, but that number is going to increase rapidly. That is going to be a huge. There's another development already proposed for the village that is before the ZBA next Monday night. There's a lot happening in the village in a very short amount of time. There's Best Buy. There's some potential development on the Best Buy we've read about in the media. There is a lot of stuff happening in the village. We need to really think about the safety of the children going to the Pioneer Charter School as much as we need to think about the residents that live in the village section of the city. God forbid you don't want to see one of the children walking to school get hurt because we didn't carefully think this process out. I understand the Dover Amendment. I think that you have something to hang your hat on. I respect that point. I think Dover, Massachusetts, which is where the law came from, is a lot different than the village section of the city of Everett. So I understand that the Dover Amendment exists, but to be able to hang your hat on that is fairly opposite in situations. Dover, Massachusetts is a very rural, wide open area of a community. Mr. O'Neill, you know the village. You're familiar with the village very well. You understand the streets. We've talked about this. You understand that the streets are very congested as it is today. Those are some of my concerns. I'd like to yield the floor, and that's why I put this forward so that all of my colleagues could participate in this conversation, because I think this is a serious matter that we all need to carefully look at. They're coming to the village. Let's make sure that we understand that. We cannot stop them from coming in. They are going to build a school in the village. What we can do is protect the residents and protect the children, as I'm sure they want to as well. And that's why I want to open line of communication and work collaboratively with these individuals so that we can all come to some sort of agreement that is going to be safe and impactful to the residents as much as it is to the parents and the students of the Pioneer Charter School. So I'll yield the floor to my colleagues, but that's where I'm coming on this piece.
Councilor McKinnon is the next speaker, but before he speaks, I just want to remind everyone that this is before us because there was no time in committee, and I don't want to have an entire committee meeting here this evening. So please keep that in mind. I understand that, so just keep it in mind. Thank you. Councilor McKinnon?
Through you, Mr. President, to our guests. You mentioned that you had a detailed plan, and where did you get that detailed plan from the gentleman beside you?
In terms of the...
Traffic?
The...
Flow? Traffic flow?
They engaged an engineering firm to lay out exactly the turn radiuses. And just to address something that was mentioned before, and there may be a misconception, they're not proposing to take that hard right coming off Revere Beach Parkway to come back. It is to go around the rotary and come back and make a fairly gentle turn into the site.
Okay, was this ever produced before our traffic commission?
So that would be part of a site plan review. Under the provisions of the law, the use of this property as an educational facility exempts it, and there is no requirement that it go before the traffic committee simply because they have no jurisdiction over it. The only matters that can be addressed under the provisions of the law, and I know it may strike you as being counterintuitive to say that a city can't control what comes into its city. However, that's really the basis of the Dover Amendment and why the statute was enacted. Because if you broaden the thought process out in deference to the councilor's comment on Dover, this is really an amendment that's most used in cities. Where our educational facilities are, Brookline, Cambridge. This is the reason that it's on the books, the Dover Amendment, that is.
I totally agree
exempt it.
with what you're saying, but in respects to public safety, we're looking at it in a different, whole different arena right now. Because if you're having a number of buses coming down these streets and they're going the route that you're proposing, and it's not even touched upon or looked upon by our police, how can we even govern that? We can't.
We're certainly, while we're exempt from any permitting process or review process or authorization process, we are not exempt from compliance with the laws. When this school is up and running, and when there are buses going down this route, they're required to operate in a safe manner. We're confident that they can do so. If they are not doing so, it is entirely within the enforcement authorities of the police to take appropriate action. And when we talk about the bus loads, we're being a little speculative. We don't know exactly how it's going to go. The sizes of the buses that would work in this facility, in this area, we're going to have to figure that out.
Sure.
And we're going to be there to address those concerns. And again, this is an enterprise that is expanding because it's successful. If people are not confident sending their kids to the school, the enterprise will fail.
Sure.
And therefore, we are, in our own interest, going
No,
to
the school's great. I know the good work that they do because there's a number of people that I know that have attended. So that's not even an issue. The issue there is, like, I think where my colleague is going is more on the lines of public safety, to where we can protect the community as well as the children that are going. If we had something like in line to where we could work with, our people and the traffic to find the best solution for those buses to get in there, it might be feasible to do or advise that to you as well. But just as a,
always open to the proposals.
as a point of advisement to you guys, to get them in there and get them out as, as rapidly or as whatever, safe as possible.
It's going to be in everyone's interest.
So I think that possibly having some time in a committee would probably do us well if we could actually do that, to come back and talk about that, and then bring up our traffic people as well, just as a recommendation to our colleague. And, you know, to discuss any public safety issues that we may have. I think the school does well for itself, and I think it's going to flourish down there. That building, I'm trying to figure it out where it is, but it's in between 16, there's the hill, and then that's that building past Best Buy to the right?
Correct.
All the way down? Down the other, okay. So
Abutting
just so I
the,
have-
abutting the train line to the back.
Okay. Now, getting the buses in and out of there is going to be kind of challenging because you have cars on both sides that park there currently now. So we would have to take a look at that just to actually maneuver some stuff around to actually have that go there without a public safety issue. So I think it would be feasible to, Mr. President, I think it would be feasible to have this go into committee mode and then at a different night to where we'd have time to actually explain and talk about things and invite the people that we need to invite up here as well. So that would be my suggestion on this for my colleague. But I want to thank you, sir, for coming up tonight. And, you know, the school's great. So any way that we can help, you know, make it advantageous and public safety-wise, I think we should do that. So.
Thank you. You know, as we proceed and the plans are in, the project is proceeding, there is some time that we'd be absolutely
How much
thrilled.
time do you have available before this is all going to?
The construction period is approximately, is it so,
we have time to
well,
do this?
given the, you know, given they are trying to move quickly, but
No,
yeah.
I understand.
You know, the hope is that we're teaching kids in January.
Absolutely. And our hope is that we're teaching them and getting there safely there, as
So-
well as not impacting the community as well. So
So,
would
yes,
it
of
be
course, we have
feasible
time.
to do that? So we have time, correct?
We have time to, we will, the time for making this a safe project will never end. So,
Okay.
yes, we
All
have
right.
time.
Thank you very much.
Counselor Hanlon?
Mikey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bring everybody that we need in.
Mr. O'Neill, how are you?
Mr. Hanlon, well, thank you.
You had mentioned several things. My main concern of what you said is that there are lots of things that we don't know what to do with yet, but we're going to work it out as we go along. That really bothers me, because my main consideration in this whole thing is the safety of the children. Not the teachers, not the parents, not automobiles, not buses. It's the safety of the children. It's going to be a 4-story building? Is that what I
Presently,
understand?
it's as it stands, a 2-story building.
2-story building? A 1-story building is tough. 2 stories is even harder. 3 and 4 would be, of course, much more difficult. But a 2-story building, if there's a case in which we have to evacuate the building, and we're talking about kids that are 6 years old up to 13 or 14, something like that, but 6 years old in kindergarten, 7 years old maybe. And they've got to get out of that school in a hurry, in an emergency. You've got buses coming in, fire department maybe, police department maybe. A number of parents, as soon as they hear something's wrong, are going to flood the area. There'll be nowhere in and out. And my concern is that there's only one way in and one way out. And you have no way, if that front area gets blocked, you're going to have children that are running all around that place, not knowing what to do, being scared out of their wits and everything. That's a terrible thing to have happen to children. So you need to take care of something like that. I want to know. I know we have no control over this, you know, but I really want to know.
Well, let me
Because
address that.
I'll stand in front with a sign, you know, and I'll block every bus that comes in if I have to, until I know that these children are going to be really, really safe going into that building.
Well, I appreciate your concern, and I share it. My comment about the uncertainty of a traffic flow has no relationship to the emergency planning that is in place in the school and has been in their current facility.
All right.
They know what to do,
we
and
have-
that is resolved beyond a shadow of a doubt in terms of emergency preparedness in the school setting.
I have no problem with the Pioneer School. I mean, they do a good job at the Immaculate Conception School, they do a good job at the high school, but there are 5 ways out of that building, and there's 5 different directions to run to. You only got one gate here, and if that's blocked, who gets in and who gets out? I mean, I really am concerned about that, you know, and you have to be really special. Anyway, I'll stop with that. You know how I feel about that. Okay, so, I know the use is changing in the building, and I am concerned with traffic also, you know, because you've got buses coming in, you've got teachers, you've got administrators and so forth. And you said there's a space for like 100 cars?
I think it might be a little under that, 90.
Well, okay, it doesn't matter, but remember that you have buses coming in. The buses have to come in and turn around and get out. So you can't use up to the wall parking because you're gonna have lots of room for buses.
Again, and I apologize for not, again, as we were invited here as a committee matter, I don't have this graphically to show you, but you can see, and I can leave this with you, to see that the bus route does not impact any of the parking spaces. So there is an in and an out. There is no backing up. There is no three-point turning. It is a circular in and out proposal.
Now, I know you must have some experience at the school, and for the number of cars that come up to pick up students. I see students walking along, so I know they all don't get picked up. But I would like to know how many cars are gonna come in and go out every day. That's gonna be a major traffic area. And you said the buses are gonna go, you know, Revere Beach Parkway Extension, down to Santilli Circle and around there and so on and so forth. What about parents? How are they gonna get in and out of there? They're gonna be on Plymouth Street, they're gonna be on Cross Street, they're gonna come through Kelvin Street.
So
how are they gonna get in and out?
That has been addressed, again, proactively within the planning process. Specifically, the staff is required to use that same route. So there will be a hard and fast rule prohibiting any staff traffic through the surrounding streets. And there will be a directive to the parents. And the parents, again, share our concern and desire to have this to be a safe and orderly procession of getting the kids in and out of this. The parents are going to be directed to do that. Staff is going to be required. Parents, if somebody is on Main Street and they cut through the village, can we police that? Well, we're going to encourage that through communications and outreach to our parents to say that is not how we are going to get our kids to the school.
Because as you know, vehicles coming into the village, including yours as they come through the village, have got to go right through a school. You know, we still have, our school is on the street right there as you come down, going into the village area. There's a school there. And we have to make sure that, you know, we have a major problem there with people speeding on that street, even though there are traffic guards out with signs. They tell them to get out of the way. And that's, I'm not making that up, that's really true. Most of them are coming from the chemical company, the Mellon Bank down the street. But
Mr.
these are
Hanlon,
things I don't want to have to happen in the future. I don't want to hear about them in the future, because then I'll come down, and, you know, and I know that everybody here will come right with me. We'll be knocking on the door. And I don't want to fight against the school, because it's a good thing for kids to go to school and everything, but I want to fight for the safety of those children and other children. Okay?
Well, I don't think there'll be any fight at all, Mr. Hanlon. One of the things that those of us who are familiar with the charter school, and this particular charter school, are aware of is the parental involvement. This is not this is a particularly involved group of parents. When they meet with the parents and the parents are encouraged and told to follow this route, we can be pretty sure that those parents that are in this school setting, motivated, reaching out to for their children, are going to be very cooperative and very respectful. And I would defy you to find a Pioneer Charter School parent who's going to tell a crossing guard to get out of the way. It's just it's a good group.
Remember, we have an experience at the Immaculate School, too. We see them double parking, we see them pulling out, we see them blocking the Clinton Street, is it Clinton Street? Clinton Street. And, you know, so they're there. I know you talk to the parents and everything, you know, but do they listen? Do they act the way that they're supposed to? You can't promise me that. And I know that has nothing to do with it, but please be concerned.
Absolutely.
My primary reason for talking to you is the public safety of the school children. That's what I'm really interested in, okay? If you can fly them there, good. I would be satisfied. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our invited guests. You know, the concerns that are being raised, I know they're not lost on you. I know they're not lost on the administration. That they are valid concerns. I represented the area for 10 years. My wife was born and raised in the village. I know the area very, very well. The concern about traffic, safety, the density of the population, they're all very real. And we all share those concerns, and I'm sure that you share them as well, because it's going to be your student population who's going to be going through there. A way against that I've got quite a bit of experience with Pioneer Charter. I've been a frequent guest there. They do a tremendous job. Many Everett residents have been benefited by their program. So I've never heard a bad thing, and I've had wonderful interaction with them. I think that this process is going to be a learning experience. It is kind of a tough location where it is. As you mentioned in the beginning, you're here as a courtesy. It's informational. Planning board's already made a determination. The only thing that I would ask, and I'm sure that it would be honored, is that we keep the lines of communication open, that the school act as a good neighbor, which I know it will do, that it speak with its parents as far as drop-off, try to keep it on the premises, which is the plan with the buses, and do what you can just to accommodate as best as possible, to interact with the neighborhood in as positive a manner as possible, because the reality is, as wonderful as you are as an organization, the one thing that we need to think, and as difficult as the traffic and the safety might be, there are a lot of other entities that could be in that spot. And I think that what we have going there, although we wish that the configuration could be a little bit more conducive to traffic flow, I think it'll be a positive thing compared to what could go there. And my concern and my request, and I know the folks that we're dealing with, so I don't question it for a second. And I know you personally and professionally, and I don't question that as well, that we, as we go through the process, as we learn, because we're going to learn. You have traffic report that you have, they have the plans, that we work together, that we keep communication open, and we just be mindful and respectful of the neighborhood. And I'm confident that that'll happen. So I do appreciate you being up here. I'm sorry that our committee meeting had run so long and it turned into there. Maybe it was for the best, because there would have been a committee of 4 who would have gotten the benefit of the information, but now the council collectively has gotten that information, so perhaps it was for the best. I do appreciate you being here and spending the extra time, and thank you for everything you do. And again, as long as we keep everything open, as we always have, and discuss any issues and do what we can to be good neighbors on both sides of this parallel, I would appreciate it. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Agreed. Councilor Delasola?
Thank you for coming tonight and being patient. I know it's been a long night for you. Just a couple of issues I want to hit on. I know my colleagues have always hit a lot of topics. I'd like to get like a package together from my colleagues on the crossing guards. Are there going to be crossing guards down there walking the kids across the streets? And because, you know, once they come with the bus and the parents drop the kids off, kids will be walking through the village. And up at the Immaculate now, there's 300 students there now. Is that correct?
Approximately, yes.
And look, my colleague said earlier, there's a lot of double parking going on. You can't even double park down there on the side streets. If you double park, the street's blocked off. And I'm afraid there'll be no one there to control that when school's going on. They'd be concerned about the students going into the entranceway, but just one car parks on, let's say, May Street, it's shut down. So if I could see some kind of idea what your plans are for doing that. If you want to put a package together, let us know.
One of the big differences between this site and Summer Street is that we've got almost an acre of parking. There's no parking. Immaculate Conception is essentially an island. This is this has got a parking lot that is approximately 60% of the square footage of a 1.8 acre lot. So there is not going to be a drop-off 2 blocks away because there's plenty of room for the cars to get in, for a parent to even park and let their kid out on our premises. So I agree that would be a concern, but given the specifics of this site, I don't anticipate that. But again, that's what I was getting at with my response to Mr. Hanlon's question of if we saw that happening, we have a solution, and we would develop our strategies to make sure that that didn't happen any longer. Because I certainly recognize that, yeah, you can't have cars double parking on these streets. It's untenable.
Correct. On the main road going into the school entrance, the residents are gonna lose that parking on one side. If you have one side parking, that's, you know, that's a gift. If you lose both sides, now we have the residents have nowhere to park.
Now,
And
to speak to that for a moment, I don't know if there's double or two-sided parking there overnight. Again, the hours of operation of the school are very discreet. There's not significant, there's nothing, you know, obviously after pickup time. There's not going to be evening hours here. This isn't a night school that's going to be attracting people at, you know, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, where they're going to be competing for road space with residents coming home from work and parking. Again, those are things that, if we see them developing, need to be addressed. But given the anticipated flow, I don't see us having impact on people's parking.
The impact will be in the morning. That's just about, and when they get out of school, obviously. But hopefully the residents, they're at work at 2 o'clock, and the impact won't be as bad as the morning would be. The morning's the main concern. Both times, all our concerns. And the last question I have is, the buses coming in, you were saying they're gonna go down the Rotary around and then take a left across into the village.
So, yeah, down around the Rotary, back, you know, reversing direction, I guess, westerly, then back easterly, and then onto Bizarro and into the.
So if a bus is coming from, let's say, Main Street, bringing the kids to school, you're telling me they're gonna go down 16 to the bottom to get in, or they're gonna go down Santilli into the Rotary and come back around again? Is that what you're saying?
That's the only way they can make that. They can't make that hard right that
Correct.
Councilor McLaughlin was anticipating. It's simply, it doesn't work. So they're going to have to get back out onto the circle so they can come in at a workable angle.
So we're gonna go by the entranceway in Santilli, hit the Rotary, loop around again to take a left into the village,
Come back and take that.
then a right into the school.
Correct.
All right, like we said, it can go on all night, repeating what my colleague said, but I know you guys do the best for the residents and the children and everybody involved.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being patient.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Councilor Sani.
I do agree with my colleagues. Have you thought about putting police down there during that time? I know you mentioned crossing guards, but police detail on a lot of those areas, just so we can have the safety, everybody's talking about the children and the traffic flow and everybody moving correctly, because I know police will get it moving more than crossing guards.
Certainly something that we would be open to. I think Councilor McKinnon's suggestion that we have an open line of communication with the traffic, please, absolutely. Something that we can all benefit from would certainly be of the interest of the school.
I do know it's a tight area, and the same with my colleagues all mentioned, that we just gotta find a solution that would try to work, having the charter school down there and for the residents also, and making sure everybody's is safe down there for everyone, and making sure an evacuation plan is in place if something like that, because I know we have a problem with the mall having only one entrance in and one entrance out, which we saw a fire there, and it was everybody was into the village, and it was terrible. So we do need to have some kind of plan in place for something like that happening, for the safety of everyone down there. So, thank you.
Councilor Hanlon. Please turn your microphone on. Thank you.
Can I pass?
Yes, Councilor McLaughlin.
Okay.
I'm not going to labor the issue, but Mr. O'Neill talks about the hours of impact for those vehicles that park on Bizarro Lane. What happens with after-school programs? What happens with events that are going on in the school at nighttime, Mr. O'Neill? So then buses are moving throughout the Bizarro Lane at nighttime. I know it may be only a few times of the year, but if that's the case, and we now have these vehicles down there, buses can't exit the building. So hours for traffic flow is a concern, both in the morning and occasionally at nighttime, it will come up throughout the school year.
Wouldn't really be a busing situation at, at an evening event, in terms of getting the full capacity of the school there by bus. Certainly, I think you're speaking of a couple of times a year being a parent-teacher conference or something of the like. But remember, this is K through 8. These are not these are not high school students who are going to be working on a drama production at 9 o'clock at night, and bringing a busload of students from another school to come in and watch it. Or it's not going to be there's not an athletic facility here where there's going to be a busload of kids coming in to watch a basketball game. These are little kids, and certainly that raises the need for safety. But buses at night is really not anticipated.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to labor the issue any longer. The traffic plan that you speak of is a concern to me, because I can't imagine that they're going to go past the entrance on Bizarro Lane to the Rotary, hit 3 traffic lights, come back through the Rotary, come across a lane of traffic that's going to become ongoing, and cross ongoing traffic to take that right into Bizarro, left into Bizarro Lane at that point. So it just doesn't seem like it's going to be logically.
Well, let's not forget, Councilman, and again, I apologize for taking the time, but the question's asked, so let's not forget that for 50 years, this has been a manufacturing site that has received panel trucks throughout the day, that has received UPS trucks multiple times through the day. We have what we have. We're going to make it work. We need to make it work. We need to make it work with the help of the city. It's not a new building. The building's been there. The building's been used. The traffic issues are there. Again, the history of this site, it hasn't been pasture land. So it's been used. It's going to continue to be used, and in fact, in a very good use.
But I believe the uses of the concept of the village has changed dramatically. I know Councilor Capone said that there's a lot of other potentials that could be going into that building. I think when we're talking about moving 540 students as we are, at any given time, public safety is most concerned to everybody in this room, including yourselves, right? So talking about what else potentially could go there is not a really good level to go on, because any other business doesn't have 540 children from K to 8 going there, coming and going each day. So the other potential uses is not really a standard to hang on. I'm going to yield the floor. I'd like to make a motion after if there's any other questions.
Council, I have 2 other speakers, so if I believe it's Councilor Matusky. Did you want to speak? No, I'm sorry. Councilor Hanlon.
Thank you. I have like 5 questions, but I'm asking in one, okay? I know you're going to have an offices there and everything, but are you going to have a health area, a gym area, an assembly area, a kitchen, and a lunchroom?
Those are specifics that I am not prepared to answer. I can answer on the gym. I asked that specifically knowing that it was a transportation issue. There isn't going to be a gymnasium, a basketball court or anything like that. There'll be an activity area, some kind of activity for the kids, but not a gym.
Well, they go outside in the summertime, but inside in the wintertime, you know. But the other places?
Those are to answer the other questions of the other uses, I can defer and ask Hussein to step in and answer for you.
Okay.
Inside the building, the biggest area will be the cafeteria, and that's our plan is to have about 100 kids at a time in the 4,000 square feet cafeteria. Other than that, there will be no indoor gym or activity area. But our program allows to use different sizes of spaces inside the building for different programs, like movement hour, like as big as 2 classrooms, 20 kids. In the movement hour, they can do their activities in that area, but it's not a gym.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
Just one question?
Yeah, Council, we do have other people in the, chambers
just one
waiting,
question.
so absolutely, ask your question, sure.
Deliveries. Now, there be early deliveries before school for the cafeteria and all that, with trucks backing up?
We're not anticipating any early deliveries. or late deliveries, just regular business hours.
Oh, but during the school hours. All right, thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
Excuse customary things? Second.
Thank you for appearing. Thank you for your time.
I'm gonna make a motion that we send this to public safety, public service, and invite up the traffic commission, Chief Mazie, Mayor Di Maria,
Writing all this down.
and I'm not sure.
Wait a minute, I'm
Are there
sorry.
other
You
people
want
that
to
wanna
send it to
speak?
public service
Public safety.
and
What are
public
those two ladies
safety,
in the front row?
and you want to invite traffic?
Yep, I'd like to invite up Chris Hannon from the traffic.
On the wait a minute, on the motion, I'm sorry. Council Capone?
On the motion, thank you, Madam Chairman. You know,
I'm
I
not-
guess
no,
they're
I'm not
excused, but
stopping him. I'm going to have him.
yeah, I'll defer to whatever the will of the council is, but I think we have to be very cognizant of the fact that this was informational, that we don't have any jurisdiction over this, that if we entrench ourselves or entwine ourselves with this too much, we're just creating a bigger issue. What I would recommend is that Traffic Commission be involved with the charter school, talk to them about how they're gonna do it. I don't think at this particular point in time, we should be getting in the middle of it. There may come a time where we do need to address it, but where this isn't our purview, we have nothing to do with this.
Yeah, I believe we're
think
just
that it's a
mostly
mistake
concerned
to-
about the safety
Yeah.
of the children in the village
And-
area.
And to that effect, I would ask that we refer this over to the Traffic Commission and let them work with the Pioneer Charter School in order to ensure the safety and the traffic flow. I think that would be the best way to do it, but I'll defer to my colleagues.
Counselor McKinnon?
Through you, Madam Chairwoman. I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the best results from the Traffic Commission. If we invite Chris Hannon, whichever way it goes, whether we send it into traffic, whether we send it into committee and have Chris Hannon come here, whichever way it has to go. But at least we'll have a direction and we'll know, we'll have some type of plan that's suitable with our police department as well. And it's conducive to the community down there and the safety of the children. So I think we're all on the same page with that. I don't see where we're too far off the mark there, so I think that's. what we
Unfortunately,
need to do.
I have two motions on the table which are both committees. So do we take a vote on the first motion or the second motion? Whichever you prefer. I didn't get a second on either one of them.
What's your motion?
Motion is to send it to public safety, invite up Chris Hannon from traffic.
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, so based on that, send it to public safety and invite the traffic commissioner, what did you say, Chris?
I said Sergeant Christopher Hannon.
Christopher Healy.
Was there anyone
Okay.
else?
And all in favor?
Aye.
The chair's in doubt, I will ask for roll call.
Just one moment, Madam Chairman, please.
Traffic. It's gotta go to traffic.
Madam Chairman, on the motion, if I may.
This is to send it to public safety, and then we have another motion.
No,
but-
I understand that, and I haven't asked questions because I've done a lot of my research on the side, and I'm actually very familiar with the building. There's an electronics company there years ago. There's always been some industry, there's always been traffic, there's always been parking, there's always been people working there. And again, I understand the need to get information out to the public, but when we send it to committee, what is our intent? We've already had a considerable amount of information. What exactly are we empowered to do? We're not empowered to do anything. This is not in our area. And I agree with Councilman Capone. You know, this is, you know, it is important that the information get out. But what more information now are we looking at? You know, are we calling into question some of the information that was presented to us tonight? I would rather hope that's not the case. I know the attorney personally, and I'm very familiar with the experience of the school up in Ward 1. So, again, I'm trying to understand what it is we're trying to accomplish here. We have people who've come down who support this. You know, we do profess that we support the education of the youth, and, you know, this isn't something we have any jurisdiction on, so I'm just curious, what is it that we're looking to accomplish beyond the information that was already
Counselor, what
presented
I'm-
to us today?
Right, I
Thank you.
understand your concern, so I'm in doubt because of sending it to public safety, so that's why I asked for a roll call vote. That's right, that's what I'm saying. So let's, that's what I'm getting to. So if you could please take the roll
We're doing a
call.
roll call vote. On item number 14, on item number 13,
Referring it to public.
this is, just so everyone knows, this is for a vote to refer to public safety, public service. Counsel Capone.
No.
Counselor Della Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
No.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. No. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
No.
Counselor Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
No.
We have a 5-5 tie, which means it is not referred, and the measure is still in front of you. It has
So
not,
the
we have
next-
not acted upon it.
I would refer it to the Traffic Commission.
So the second motion is to refer to the Traffic Commission. I do have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So what,
I believe the ayes have it, but I'll give the benefit of the doubt, and we'll do a roll call also on this. To answer your question, in the middle of a vote, we'll answer
We're in the
it
middle of a
after.
vote, I can just tell you that this is to refer it to the
This is to
Traffic
refer it to the Traffic Commission to come back with a recommendation,
To work with the charter,
to
Pioneer
work with the
Charter.
charter and come back with a recommendation on the traffic. Is that?
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. On the motion, Counsel Capone.
Yes.
Counselor Della Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon.
Yes.
Counselor Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
abstain?
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Sani.
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
9 yeas, 0
That's the
nays.
vote, and
You
he
have
can't
referred this
abstain.
to the
You
Traffic
could
Commission.
either have to leave or.
And you have
or
to
vote.
leave the room, Councilor McLaughlin.
Just so you know.
The order has passed to send it to the Traffic Commission. Thank you for appearing.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, members of the council.
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Yes,
like to
Counselor.
suspend the
Can't
rules.
abstain.
I have a sign-in sheet. This gentleman's been waiting patiently for a long time on item number 8. If we could please read item number 8.
Motion made and seconded to suspend the rules and take item number 8. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 8, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 8 is an order offered by Anthony DePiero as president, a petition to erect 3 new permanent awnings from 322 to 328 Main Street.
Mr. Mr. Chairman, the petitioner has informed me that this is blue, but do you have the color?
I did leave it in your mailbox, and if you need if you need to see the picture.
I'm sorry, we've got so many things I
Councilor
haven't had a chance.
McKinnon has it next to you. The petitioners are in the audience also.
I know we try to stick to the red, but I guess these are their colors. But if you'd like to ask the question to the petitioner.
Is that a motion to invite him forward? Motion made and seconded to invite the petitioner forward. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Robson Dissa. I'm from Sioux Science. We plan to do this awning, and the reason he chose the blue ones is because it's a franchise. He cannot do anything. Has to be done this way. Otherwise, he could choose another one to be compliant with the city. The only reason friends ask me to come by tonight is to tell you that it's a franchise, and that's all. He cannot do anything if.
Councilor DeFlorio?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, on this building, I live up the street, and I even hate to ask this question. Are any other colors that attach to this
Yes.
building? So
Yes.
this is a freestanding building, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, correctly, yes.
Okay,
Sunrise is yellow.
so Sunrise is yellow, which is next to
Yes.
this building. That's what I thought.
Then after that, there's a blue and a black one.
This is what causes a problem, and I know you have a franchise where you've got
Sunrise is
blue,
represented.
yellow, orange, red
Yeah, I know,
in
but
one,
right
on
next to each
one
other.
building. So my question's answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor McLaughlin?
Thanks, President. It is a completely separate standing building. The building that's next to it is a separate building. In the 3 entrances that this individual has, he is proposing to put the same awning on all 3 entrances not just the check cash, the business, but the next two entrances of the building is going to be uniformal, so that the building is covered in the same awning. The building next to it is a freestanding building. It does have a different color awning, which is the breakfast place, but it is a separate building.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Separate owners,
Yes.
separate building. It's a freestanding building.
Councilor Della Sola?
I know we all want the Crimson Tide red, but when franchises come up to us with their color, like we did with, I think it was Caesar's Pizza on Broadway, theirs was orange, and I know we all want them to match, but I think this kind of blends a little bit compared to what we really want, and he's improving the neighborhood. So I just wanted to make that
And
comment.
if you allow me to
Go
tell
ahead, sir.
something, we're gonna use this umbrella with the fabric one, it's very classy. We try to make, as complying with the city as much as you can. The only problem there is, as I mentioned before, is the franchise. That's the only.
It's a franchise color.
And normally they use vinyl, and we say, no, we're not gonna be able to use vinyl. France called them, and they allowed us to use the fabric of this umbrella one. So to be soft instead of a bee,
Okay.
I'm here,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Capone?
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you two, I guess, you have alluded to the fact that it is a franchise color.
Yes.
So with that said, we talk a lot about the awnings up here, and the reality is right now it's just a rule. It's not even an ordinance. It's just a rule that's part of our situation. And, crimson is our city color, which is wonderful, but I personally don't have a problem with a business going with their own colors as long as they do it in a tasteful manner and it adds to the neighborhood. So I've got no problem, going with this
Thank you.
awning color. So I appreciate you coming up here. Thank you, Mr.
My
President.
pleasure.
Councilor Napolitano?
I'll be brief. I mean, a lot of businesses spend a lot of money marketing an image and spending money to get that image out there. Color tones are part of that image, and that's part of the reason why we maintain a little flexibility with franchises, okay? You wouldn't tell McDonald's they have to use a yellow sign, so it's kind of the same thing. Thank you.
Any other questions, councilors? Motion made and seconded to excuse our guests with a customary thanks. All those in
Thank you,
favor?
appreciate it.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
But before you vote, I do want to say that the petitioner has not given me the $5,000 bond. I do not normally have an issue, so I have no problem with you approving it with the contingency that before he erects the awning, that he has to issue me the $5,000 bond. I just wanted to state that before you voted.
If I could amend
Yes,
it as
that's why I'm
such.
asking you to make it as a motion.
Yeah, I'm
that-
I'll move to amend the item as alluded to by our clerk.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action with that sole contingency. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
On item number 8, as amended, Counsel Capone?
Yes.
Counsel Della Sola?
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio? Counsel Hanlon?
Yes.
Counsel Matusky? Yes. Counsel McKinnon?
Yes.
Counsel McLaughlin?
Yes.
Counsel Napolitano?
Yes.
Counsel Sani?
Yes.
And President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed the order as amended.
Petition has been granted. Item number 5.
Could we please take item number 9?
Motion was made and seconded to suspend the rules and take item 9. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 9, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 9 is an order offered by Counsel Anthony DePiero as president, a petition for mechanical license from TNT Auto Repair, Inc. at 39 Garden Street.
Please refer to the Community and Business Development.
Motion made and seconded to refer the item to the Committee on Community and Business Development. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 5 is next.
Item number 5 is an order offered by Counsel Anthony DePiero as president, authorizing the Everett Police Department to seek a Justice Assistant Grant of $15,227 for the purpose of purchasing 10 new mountain bikes with accessories and 3 fixed-mounted speed radar signs for high-risk streets.
Mr. Chairman, this is for a grant, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Motion was made and seconded for favorable action. Please call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
Counsel Capone. Yes. Counsel De La Sola.
Yes.
Counsel DeFlorio.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon. Counsel Matusky. Yes. Counselor McKinnon.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
Counselor Sani. President DePiero.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays. You have passed the order. Should I just go? Item number 6 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president to add a new subsection 3 to section 31.a of the zoning ordinances of the city of Everett, marijuana establishments forbidden. And
To planning board?
also, just so you know, there is a communication from the mayor's office on the intent on why they're doing this, so if you'd like me to read it, I just wanted to inform you.
Please do so, Mr. Clerk.
Yes. This, just so you know, it has to do with both items 6 and 7, which ban the recreational marijuana shops. It states, "Dear Mr. President and members of the City Council, I am pleased to introduce tonight a proposal to ban recreational marijuana shops in the city of Everett. This ban is consistent with the will of the voters in our city, who last November rejected ballot question 4 to legalize recreational marijuana in Massachusetts. Under a new law passed by the state legislature and enacted by Governor Baker in July, a city where voters rejected ballot question 4 may now ban recreational marijuana establishments by passing an ordinance through its normal legislative process. The proposed municipal ban will not prohibit residents from possessing or cultivating recreational marijuana in accordance with the state law, nor will it apply to registered medical marijuana dispensaries. Rather, its sole purpose is to disallow the opening of recreational pot shops in our city. I introduced this proposal tonight for simple reasons. A majority of Everett voters did not support the legalization of marijuana, recreational marijuana. Every day, we are still confronting issues of young people misusing drugs or alcohol, and I am concerned about the risk of our diversion in recreational marijuana is sold commercially in our community. Lastly, we have the positive momentum now to attract vibrant businesses that will increase our quality of life and contribute positively to our city. And I do not believe that recreational pot shops would add value to our residents. I look forward to working together to get this ordinance enacted to promote both community health and appropriate economic development. Thank you very much for your consideration, signed by our Mayor, Carlo Di Maria Jr.
On the motion, Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the piece, I commend the mayor for this piece. I think it's something that basically expresses the will of this community. The voters have spoken about this question. They do not want it. I think it exactly what the mayor said in his letter. It undermines where we're heading as a community. So I'm very happy that this piece has come forward. I support it wholeheartedly and move that we refer it to the planning board.
Motion was made and seconded to accept this communication and attach it to the item and refer it to the planning board. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is an ordinance offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president to amend Chapter 12, Licenses and Business Regulations of the Revised Ordinances of the City of Everett by adding the following new section, 12-12, Marijuana Establishments Forbidden. I do have it. I already have it, so it should have been sent to you. If not, I'll make sure you have it in your mailboxes.
Motion was made and seconded to lay this over to our next meeting with the request that we receive the amendment. Is that it, Counselor? All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 12. Getting there.
One moment, Mr. President. Item number 12. Item number 12 is a resolution offered by Councilor Michael J. McLaughlin to discuss the happenings at 57 Calvin Street, known as Nino's Ironworks.
I believe this, sorry, this was left in committee, so,
Motion to grant further time.
so grant further
Accept
time.
the committee report and grant further time?
Yes.
That motion was made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 14, before it's read, we do have a response, but out of request for the counselor, out of respect for the counselor, he requested it be laid over so he's present at the next meeting. It needs to be read first, though.
Item number 14 is a resolution offered by Councilor Stephen Simonelli to have the Chief of Staff appear at our next meeting in September to inform the public on how the new computerized parking machines are working out.
Motion was made and seconded to lay over to our next meeting in September. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 15.
Item number 15 is a resolution offered by Councilor Wayne A. Matusky regarding the fence along the railroad tracks abutting Parish Street.
Councilor Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received a letter from Enforcement Officer D'Amato. Excuse me, I want to thank him very much for the investigative work that they've done along with Mr. Nuzzo and, of course, Building Inspector Director James Sopa. They've given me a detailed report. There is nobody living near the train tracks, and they're looking for other evidence of illegal activity. They have fixed some of the fences. They're working together with the B&M Railroad. It is an active train line in that area, so we have to keep an eye on it. It's been neglected for a few years, but a lot's happening in my neighborhood, which is the old Mark's Discount, the old Eagle Shoe, Dampney Paint Company, Richie Slush, the Art Studio Gallery. That's all behind that. That's the up-and-coming area. After we're done on Wood 6, it's all coming to Revere Beach Parkway. That's where the action's going to be. The old Market Forge, anything on the Parkway. It's my neighborhood. I've represented that area for 32 years, and I'm going to keep an eye on it. And these train tracks are very important for the safety of any new resident moving in there and anybody that lives there now. So with that, I'll refer this back to sponsor, and a special thanks to the Enforcement Department and Director Sopa. Thank you.
Is there a second on the motion? Motion was made and seconded to refer the item back to sponsor. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 16.
Item number 16 Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilor Matusky that Massport once again be notified that noise levels on August 17th, 19th, and the 20th, 2017 have been loud, low, and excessive for 18-hour periods each day, and that a certified letter be sent notifying the Massport Director.
Councilor Matusky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very happy that our city clerk sent a registered letter, return receipt. And did they receive it? We have the...
I haven't got the return receipt back in the mail, but I did send
right,
it certified, so I should receive it any day.
It's very important that I've received complaints as early as this evening. There was a woman in the chambers this evening, Mr. President, who lives on George Street, which is a distance from my home. I got a call from an 88-year-old woman on Orange Court, which is 30 blocks from my home. The issues are still happening. But at least, and I want to thank you, Mr. Clerk, City Clerk, for developing, and I want to read this letter if it's okay. It's not long.
Go ahead, Councilor.
And I want to thank the City Council. We finally seem to be getting some headway, but, you know, I don't trust Massport at this point. So this is the letter to Mr. Glenn, who's the Executive Director of Massport. The Everett City Council unanimously requested a certified letter be sent to you at their August 28th meeting regarding the excessive noise levels from airplanes flying over the city of Everett from August 17th to August 20th. This has been a reoccurring trend over the past few months in Everett, and the council are looking for answers. The city realizes that the airport is close by, and from time to time there will be increased noise, but the increased noise levels are getting worse, and frequency of planes flying low enough for our residents to clearly identify the name and type of plane is what has prompted this letter. Residents are calling their elected officials in City Hall more frequently, complaining about the noise and asking for relief. This is why we ask for answers. The City Council, led by Councilor Matusky, also requested that the meeting originally scheduled for July 21st be rescheduled as it was canceled. Let's see if we get a response back. At least we'll know if we picked up this letter, Mr. Clerk, Mr. President. And let's hopefully get back to some sanity in the airwaves above our homes in Everett, and hopefully this issue will be a thing of the past. But as I said, I don't trust Massport, and I never have. They've been lying to the city of Everett and surrounding communities for many years. And as I brought up at the last meeting, do you know that they want to put a proposal in? If you drop off somebody at the airport, they want to have a toll booth there. Another ripoff, another scam from a state agency that doesn't listen to the surrounding neighborhoods. So with that, I'm not going to lay this on the table. I think the clerk will let me know. And I want a copy of when he picked it up and when it was sent.
Yes.
And I want to thank you, Mr. President, to our clerk. Your wonderful letter. This is the nicest letter that we've sent Massport in a long time.
Thank you, Mr.
And I appreciate
thank
it
you,
very
Counselor.
much. And I appreciate the council's support on this. Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to refer the item back to sponsor. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Item 17.
Last item on our agenda, item number 17. Mr. President, is a resolution offered by Councilors Fred Capone, Michael McLaughlin, and Peter Napolitano that the DCR consider a more permanent solution to the present arrangement at the intersection of Gladstone Street and Revere Beach Parkway, Route 16 West, in order to promote the safety of residents and school children in the area.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to our clerk, if I could ask, I think we referred it to traffic. Could
You
explain
did
why?
both. You
Okay.
both referred it to traffic
And laid it over?
for the future, and you asked me for an immediate response from the chief of police, which I have.
Oh, beautiful.
That you asked me
If
for
could-
both, so I did both.
Oh, wonderful. Could you read that?
Yes. So traffic will be taking it up at one of their next meetings.
Excellent.
And the chief sent a letter this morning, actually. So he says that he has spoken with Sergeant Hannon, who is the head of the Traffic Commission. They are all in agreement that this is the best way to approach the problem, which is to have a permanent barrier to block the area. Similar to how Chelsea has done with some of the streets on Route 16 up on their side. I guess the question would be whether the city wants to use horses or a more permanent barrier like a Jersey barrier. To the question if they could use police enforcement, they did state that in the interim, off and on, they could, but it is obviously something that they can't do all day, every day. They recommend that it get kicked into Traffic Commission, which was done for further discussion with the sponsors, but think that the best solution to reduce the incidence of the one-way street violators is to have a permanent barrier there, whether it is by Jersey barrier or horses. I believe that we have horses there now. So that is the opinion of the chief, but he did send it to traffic along with I.
Great. No, I appreciate that, Mr. Clerk. Thank you. So at that point, my colleagues that are on the piece, I don't know what they want to do. It's in traffic's hands. Do you want to just lay it over for a response, maybe second meeting in October, perhaps? Do you think that'll give them enough time?
Sure.
Okay. So hold
I
over the
think that's
second meeting in
enough time.
October. Looking for a response.
Motion
Thank
was
you.
made and seconded to lay this item over till the second meeting in October with the hope of a response. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.
before we adjourn, Mr. President?
Yep, Councilor Matusky?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to notify anybody that may be watching this meeting that there is a primary on Tuesday, September 19th, and the only thing on the ballot is the councilman at large race. So that's September 19th. It is primary day in Everett. So make an effort to vote. Thank you very much.
Motion was made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it.